This is Jeff Driskill, and in this episode of Fourth and Long, we're going to talk to Jon Cundiff. If I could be Jon, I would love to have the focus that he had. He started his business with the proposition he wanted to make $1 million and built the plan from there. Check this episode out.
Jon, let's make it official. Start telling us a little bit about Jon's history. Introduce us to Jon.
Right. Well, my history has always been in the turf business.
Okay.
I got started, probably had the best job ever for a high school kid in college. I worked at Royal Stadium, Chiefs, and worked on the ground crew.
Wow.
And worked under the direction of the sod god, George Toma, and on a daily basis, we were doing 60, 70 hours a week, and that's really what led my story to go to the direction that I did.
Okay.
That was probably the first strong leader that I ever worked with.
Okay.
That there was only one way to do things with him, and that was do your job and then extra. Do your job and then some.
Okay.
And we weren't in minors. We were in the big leagues. And so there was only one way to do it, and that was to do it right.
So it's interesting, though, that you say he was the first strong leader. So it was his way or the highway is what it sounds like. So tell me why you refer to him as a strong leader.
I think pretty much just what I said. There was only one way to do things, in his opinion, and that's not meaning that he didn't open to suggestions. It doesn't mean he didn't use creativity. It was that we are the best. We will be the best.
Okay.
This isn't the minor leagues. We don't have room for mistakes, and we always did our job and then some. So it wasn't enough just to come in and do the same thing that the other guys always did.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to succeed or excel, if you're going to do what everybody else is doing, you're just everybody else. We were always going to be that much better. And that's where our crews were always set apart from everybody. We always had the best fields, the best dirt, not so much the best grass at the time. The way we did things, the way we carried ourselves as professionals, we took that job that some look at and elevated it. And that was his goal. So from a strong leadership, he took kids, basically a high school kid, 16, 17 years old, and taught them how to be a man, how to make good decisions, how to be disciplined, and how to do this is going to be a career. So that was really, when I say strong leadership, that's what he was willing to do with us.
Okay.
He was also one that was going to be in your grill when you mess up. He's also one that covers your back as well.
Okay.
He had a good balance of being able to do that.
All right. So that is interesting that, somebody who is, we all want to be that kind of a leader, that we'll get after you so that we can hold you accountable. Right. But at the same time, we want you to know how valuable you are to the team, and the role that you play is important.
Correct.
And sometimes that balance is tough to strike and isn't successfully done by the leader.
Correct. At the very same time, I'm going through high school, I had another strong leader in Bud Lathrop. So I also played basketball for Ray South.
Okay.
And those of you that old school around here knows Bud, and his mentality was crazy in high school. I had two people who had the same kind of mentality of what it took to be the best. Mm-hmm. And it happened, for Bud, it happened Monday through Thursday. The games were just a plus.
That is so true. I mean, having, an athletic background myself, with being so involved with football and coaching football and everything, there is more time spent coaching football on the practice field than there is on the game field.
Right.
Baseball, basketball play so many more games. Football, you spend more time practicing for the game than you ever come close to playing the game.
Right.
And sometimes I think that's almost the difference in the mentality and the work ethic that goes into it. And you made the comment, the practice was where so much of it was taught and learned The games were just a plus.
Yeah, I think it's philosophically, when I look at that situation, I think a lot of it is just a leadership style and business. But, you coach at practice, but you manage the game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have time to, I coached soccer for years. I don't have time to yell across the field and tell a kid how to do it differently.
Mm-hmm.
The game's too fast.
Yeah.
So I coach during the week, but I have to manage the game. If I really need to talk to them, I'll pull them off, talk to them, send them back in. And that was some of the lessons learned from Bud. And those two leaders were very similar in that everybody hears all the stories about Bud, but he was a great man. And would I play for him again? Absolutely. Would I let my kids play for him? Absolutely. He taught us how to be men, how to be disciplined, and he also had your back 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the people that came through, and not so much at the stadium, but there are guys that are very successful, but came through basketball that are very successful from that mentality and that life that we lived.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. And, the thing that I really relate to so strongly, and you mentioned it earlier, is we value those coaches because they held us accountable.
Absolutely.
They didn't say, we want you to do this, and they let you do it some other way.
No.
When they said, do it this way, that was not only the expectation, but you were going to do it again until you did it that way.
That was the only way.
That was the only way. Exactly.
So a lot of their influence absolutely played when I was in business and I had people.
Mm-hmm.
Holding them accountable, not enabling them. We often talked, Vic and I often talked, that managing is never convenient, but it's always consistent. That I can't come into my office one day and say, hey, okay, I'm ready to manage, so somebody do something.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's on the way. When you're on your way home and you're walking out the door and you see something, you have a decision to make. You either manage it or you enabled it. Because if you turned a blind eye, you just enabled it. And that was one of the lessons that I learned, that really, if I want to have the operation run the way it is, I need to hold them accountable in all fairness and honesty, integrity, and being humble in myself. Have I set them up for success first? That's my first question.
Right.
Have I set you up for success? Have I trained you in the right way, put you in the right position to be successful? If yes, now I'm going to hold you accountable for it. If not, I need to go back and rethink how I do things. I think that's a little bit of the humility that you need to have when you're leading.
Yeah. One of the interesting things is so many times you'll get a leader who isn't afraid to hold you accountable.
Right.
In other words, they'll get after your tail feathers if you haven't done it right.
Absolutely.
But do they recognize when you do it right to the same level or to the same velocity as, to your point, if I didn't acknowledge it, I've enabled the fact that however you did it, I'm going to live with. Right. I will accept that. Right. As opposed to, hey, you did it right. Great job. Appreciate that. And oftentimes that's where we miss the boat.
Absolutely.
From a leader's perspective.
Yeah, I think once when you have people doing it right, you got to celebrate the wins.
Yeah.
We got to celebrate wins. And I think that's part of the culture part.
Mm-hmm.
By not enabling, it sets a culture that this is the way it is, this is the way we do it. By celebrating successes, this is why we do what we do. Mm-hmm. This is why we did it this way. And I think in today's world, the why might just be the most important part of leading.
Mm-hmm.
It's not enough just to say, hey, go do this.
Right.
Go do this. Here's why. And here's why it's important. And here's how it affects you.
Right. And going back to George Toma and the fact that he expected you and everyone on the crew to be the best, and that not only did he expect you to be the best, but he expected you to establish what the best was.
Correct.
And that he recognized when you achieved that and then got after you when you didn't get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. He had a good way of very concisely communicating that you messed up. There was no bones or sugarcoating it whatsoever, which I appreciated at the end.
Right.
I appreciated it at the end. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So you said that he was one that really influenced you into the career path that you chose and where you went. So tell us a little bit about how, you were in high school and college working for him, and what happened after college.
So very interested in turf and grass, obviously, and working there, and was in college and actually drew up my first business plan in college for the company we started in 1987, lawn care company. And it was like, here's how I can take what I've learned and have a passion for. I think that's important. It was something that I had a very passion for, and learned how to monetize it, and worked for a company out of college that really connected a lot of dots on how to make this work. And so when I did all that, it was like, this is something I can do. Mm-hmm. As much as what I learned from Stadium, I learned just as much from our previous employer and another company. I learned what worked in business, what didn't work in business, and we're able to put those two together with a strong plan.
Okay.
And that's really when we kicked that off. We started out of a bedroom, 0 customers. Yeah, I can tell you my very first customer still to this day. Customer number 1.
Number 1.
Yeah. And it wasn't me. Yeah.
So talk to us about what was the enabler or the influence that said it's time to pull the trigger now versus, 10 years later.
Sure. So we got married in 84. We started the business in 87, and it was really at a point in our lives when you're passionate about something, you really, like, you can't get it off your brain. Well, that was what I was.
Okay.
And I think I got to kind of be a pain to my wife, and she said, look, if you're going to do this thing, now's the time for us to do it. Didn't have any kids. We basically she was working downtown. I was working another place, and it was like, if we're going to do this, let's go do this. There's no other time in our life that we are going to be better. So we had the business plan put together. I took the business plan to a few different bankers, and they were very impressed with the business plan. And we had one person that looked at it and says, I don't have multi-million-dollar companies bring me business plans like this. And I'm sitting there going, well, this is a slam dunk. We got it. And he says, but I'm not going to do it. And I'm like, why? And he goes, well, John, you got a negative net worth. And I'm like, so what's that mean?
Yeah.
That's how naive I was at the time. Like, I was so passionate about, like, this is going to work. I don't know what you don't see that I do.
Right.
Was very dejected, went home and thought. I went back into that bank. And to this day, I remember telling him, I said, this is going to work. I know this will work. I just need a little kickstart. We put a package together, involved some equity from my folks, and got it going, and never looked back. We never looked back. Question is, did we hit our business? Did we hit our marks on our business plan? Absolutely.
Okay.
Hit every one of them, first year and beyond. Fast forward a few years, we were doing really good, and just wanted to upline my line of credit. That's all I really wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, maybe next year. And I'm like, oh man, I just want to jump it a little bit, right? Anytime you're in business, if you're winning, if you have a great year, you go in and up your credit line, because that's when you do it. And a couple of years later, I went in, man, can I up my line of credit? Look at my numbers. We had great years. Oh, maybe next year. And I finally went to another bank, showed him my numbers. I said, here's what I want. He goes, I got it. I go, perfect. We walked right over to that other bank, pulled our money out, and he was like, whoa, what are you doing? It's like, well, they looked at us and did it in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. And that banker I still see. I haven't seen him in ages, but the last few times I saw him, he's like, yeah, I kind of messed up on you guys.
You think?
But that's the passion. Like, that was the passion. He goes, I never had anybody come in. And he literally, when he gave me the one loan, he says, just because of your passion and your determination. And I think that's the other messages leaders have to pull. Like, they have to paint the picture. They have to show what the vision is, and they have to bring the passion to it. Mm-hmm. If you want anybody to believe what you're going to do. Right.
So I think you're answering kind of the next question that it's unusual for new businesses to hit all of their numbers, especially in year one.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes the numbers that they've projected are perfect case scenarios, and rarely do we ever see the perfect case scenario in the business.
Okay.
And so what do you think it was that enabled you or allowed you to achieve those numbers?
Two things. It's a great question, and it's one that I ask entrepreneurs a lot when I'm like, let's talk about this. One, we built a business plan day one or before day one, and we built it based on growing by process and intention.
Okay.
Not by hope.
Good.
So the plan was, this is how we're going to do it. This is the process. This is the systems. This is how we're going. These are benchmarks. This is how we're going to grow it. So this is the by intention, growing by intention. Mm-hmm. Had our number, knew what we needed and how we were going to do it almost by the week, how many sales we would have to have and how many jobs you have to do. That was probably the bigger part, was doing it by process and intention. The other thing that we did, that I always encourage entrepreneurs to do, is what's your org chart look like for, let's say, $1 million company? Once you build this thing to $1 million, what's that thing going to look like? What's the business look like at $1 million or $2 million, whatever the number is? How many people do you need? What's the business? What's the physical location look like? Do you need managers, not managers? What does your P&L need to look like? What's your balance sheet need to look like? Let's build it. What is this company going to look like at $1 million successfully? Now I know where I'm headed. Now I can grow this thing. Now I can benchmark where I am. If I'm doing this, I want this to be done in 3, 4, 5 years. Where am I in year one? Where am I in year two? If we just leave it for happenstance, it's a moving target, and it's harder to hit.
Okay. So that kind of brings the question of, so you've obviously worked with a lot, and maybe we probably need to dig a little bit more into the business. Talk to us about the business. I mean, was it the franchise concept that you had come up with, or this was completely on your own doing what you've now translated over to the franchise?
So we started business in '87, and it was just the two of us. I would treat yards during the day and run estimates, and Vic would work. She'd come home, generate leads for us at night, and I'd be in the other room selling at night. And that's how we started the business. And we ran that business very successfully. It was growing leaps and bounds. I got invited to be on board of directors of a professional lawn care association, national association, which I highly recommend people get involved in associations. It will expand your knowledge so fast. But I started meeting people all across the country doing exactly what I'm trying to do, and they're killing it. And so I'm learning. Well, I met some really good people, and within that organization that are partners of mine right to this day, that are lifelong friends, but they introduced me to, that has been the 90s. And then about 98, 99 was introduced to Weedman. Well, I kind of knew about Weedman.
Right.
Because they were a Canadian company. I kind of knew about them because one of their administrators on our board. So I knew a little bit about them. Well, they were branching out in the U.S. And they have a very unique model to franchising, which was a sub-franchisor. So you have a master franchisor and a sub-franchisor. Right. Not everybody has a sub-franchise model. And so they approached me and one other guy and brought us up into Minneapolis and pitched this model on the sub-franchise system to expand in the U.S. At that point in time, they were doing about $1 million in all U.S.
Okay.
I think they had like 3 locations. And so I looked at the model, came home, Vic and I talked about it, and was very intrigued. And that was in 1999.
Okay.
We went through a year of negotiations, and in 2000, we rolled over our business. Current company, Turf's Up, rolled into Weedman. And now we were the franchisor for Central U.S. at that point in time.
Okay.
So we were able to buy the rights to 7 states, ultimately, and we were in charge of all the business development within those 7 states. And we were the first sub-franchisor to jump on board with Weedman, which Weedman now, largest franchise lawn care company in North America, doing, I don't know what they're going to do this year, maybe about $450 million, something like that.
Wow.
So quite the journey.
Quite the journey.
Yeah, it's quite the journey. And so that's how I got into the franchising side.
Okay.
And we franchised for since 2000.
Okay.
And we were taking care of about 75 territories, about a little over 20-some franchises, Central U.S. So that's how my occupation and my professional journey changed.
Talk about quantum leaps.
Yeah.
And quantum challenges added to the mix, I
Absolutely.
would think, because you're running your company successfully, and were you doing more than what Weedman was doing whole in the United States at that time? You said they were doing about $1 million.
We were right about that. At that point in time, we were about the same
Okay,
size.
so you come on
here
board.
in Lee Summit, Kansas City.
Okay, so you were basically, you doubled their income for the United States by joining the team. And then everybody works for you, and so you have direct influence on them.
Correct.
Now you become the master franchisor.
Sub-franchise. I was never a sub-franchisor for Central U.S.
Gotcha.
Master has North America.
Okay.
And then there's 8 guys. There are 8 groups of us.
Okay.
That did this across U.S.
All right. So I'm glad you cleared that up, because the organization that I had worked with in the past, the master franchisor, had the country, and then they sold franchises for their business.
Right.
So I appreciate the clarification there. So you're the sub-franchisor, but then you're going out and recruiting franchisees that are going to run their own business, their own territory, and now you don't have the direct influence. So talk about quantum challenges there.
As you're aware of franchising, we don't run their businesses.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
They run their business. That's part of why you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
We also want their creativity. We want their enthusiasm, because that's what's made Weedman what it is, or any franchise model.
Mm-hmm.
It typically comes from ideas from the franchisee moving up to what's good. The reason I did it, twofold. At that time, our business, like I said, was growing by leaps and bounds, and I knew we were already outgrown our business plan. We'd already outgrown the systems that we currently had. Vic wrote our software package, so we were working off her. She's a programmer. She knew we had a great program, but we still needed businesses as systems that we were growing much faster than we could even design yet implement. Mm-hmm. Weedman brought them to you. Here it is in a box. Unfold it, and there's your systems, right? They'd been going since 1970.
Okay.
So that's when Weedman started. So I could get that. And at the same time, I could take my experiences and leverage my experiences and expertise in what I've been doing to help other people achieve their dreams, which is key. Why I bring it up that way is the guy that was introduced to our CEO, Weedman, at the time and was designing all this. He literally asked me, he goes, "Why would you do this?" Like, kind of almost like I didn't think you were going to say yes, right? I said, well, I can leverage my experience to help other people, and I think that's what God puts us on this world for. Let's help other people be successful. Mm-hmm. If I got something I can give, granted, I can monetize, I can do this, but I can also help people achieve things that they didn't think they could do. And that's what actually ended up playing out. And I can remember sitting at the kitchen table with Vic, and we're sitting there, and she has her charts and graphs and telling me all the things that could go wrong, and I'm like, yeah. I said, you know, hon, I go, if we don't do this, somebody will. Why not us? Mm-hmm. I can see all the things, yes. I can see that. I'm not naive, but this is going to work, mm-hmm. and we're going to be great. And she says, okay. And so we did. And I think that's a little bit of the confidence and vision. Like, you have to have both, mm-hmm. analytic and vision. You have to have the person who, like her, who is so strong in the checks and balances. Mm-hmm. But you also have the guy that has to see it,
right?
Has to believe it,
right? So let's dive into that. So we've talked about having the vision, mm-hmm. having the confidence, mm-hmm. Going back to George Toma, working to be the best, but also defining what the best means, accountability, and just flat out hard work.
Yeah.
So what were the biggest challenges that you had to overcome initially with your business, but then as you decided to grow into this franchising business?
Well, growing the franchise business was probably the biggest challenge. Was just no one knew about Weedman at the time. You know, I knew about it just for an association, but no one really knew about him. So we really, at first, no one knew who we were, what we were about. And so that was really have to, the part that you just said about the discipline and the perseverance, mm-hmm. and the hard work, that was boots in the field. That was just, okay, well, I'm going to do the dog and pony shows. We're going to send out mailers. We're going to do all these things. And in every lead you were in the car off going. Mm-hmm. And it took many years of doing 45, 50,000 miles a year just in the Midwest, talking to a lot of people about Weedman and what they could do for them, how they could change their lives, and to get that momentum going. So that was probably one of the harder in the sense that what I did learn from Toma and learn from Bud and even from my father about persistence and perseverance. No one says it's going to be easy.
Right.
Yeah, there's going to be obstacles. There's going to be challenges. That's okay. That's, it's how you handle that makes a difference. Mm-hmm. I have a saying that I use all the time is every donkey thinks their load's the heaviest. Yeah, well, we all got challenges. We all got problems. We all got things we got to overcome. But there's two types of people. One woes me and wallows in. The other one says, okay, well, we'll get over this and we're going to make it happen. And they do it with a positive attitude and they got creativity, enthusiasm. They get it done. Mm-hmm. And those are people that can see, because you're still going to have another, as soon as you get over that one, you're going to have another one.
Right.
So that persistence is what really got us going. And that was happening across the country, and we were just starting to create a buzz. And once you started creating the buzz, then people were like, well, I want to know about it.
Right.
Right? Now I want to know about it.
Right.
And then we had people coming to us. Mm-hmm. We also looked at it, which is a little unique perspective, is we didn't look at it as selling franchises. We looked at it as granting franchises. Because we knew we had a great package. We had some of the other people that were sub-franchisors were all very successful in lawn care across the country. So we had this team that was massively successful and known throughout. And so we were never in a rush to sell a franchise. We granted them to the right person. Because, mm-hmm. again, coming from the leader side, we wanted to build a culture of people who want to be successful, a culture of being a team player. And we wanted to be a dominant brand in the U.S., and we were doing that by having a great team, not by selling franchises fast. That's how we went right down.
And that's a unique perspective.
Yeah.
Because usually it is about selling as many franchises as you can, as quickly as you can, because that's the success matrix.
Correct.
That's
how they're all gauged.
Yes. Yeah.
How many branches do you got?
How many franchises, and what's our total income from the franchises?
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah. So that is a very unique perspective. Now, it's so many times that when I've gone in and had the opportunity to work with different business leaders, what their passion was doing the job.
Yeah.
I mean, and you even admitted to it. You had a passion for growing grass.
Absolutely.
You were excited about it. You knew about it. You had done, not only gone to school for it, but you also had done it in the field and learned from one of the best names in the industry. Now your business is growing a franchise to which you had information from the franchise itself, but was completely a new arena for Jon.
Oh, absolutely.
So, sometimes that's where we lose our way, and yet you managed to continue the process, and not only continue the process, but build it successfully and be aware of the culture.
Yeah.
How'd you stay grounded on that?
I haven't thought about that. The things that I did know, and I'll go back to the very first, was our strategic business planning kept us laser focused on where we were going, so that, as in business, you don't have this unlimited resource out here. You don't have the money tree sitting out there, or the revolving, the circular door, just people coming in the door. You had to be strategic in how you did things, and you had to utilize the resources that were at hand. So we I understood at one point in time that, and I read this in a book, so I can't even have ownership on it, that we only have 1,440 minutes in a day. It is the one place that we're all equal. You can't make up time. You can't save time. You can't give it to anybody. All you can do is use it. And once you back out sleep, and if you are committed to family time and these things, there's only a limited amount of time you have to do this. If you start exceeding that, you're going to be like that weed eater that's going 24/7 at 2,000 RPM. Something's going to blow. So you had to learn to leverage. You have to learn to leverage your time. And I had to be willing to relinquish duties, right? Now to work on the business, not in the business. I was no longer, and I remember a day going to the office saying, I'm no longer in a truck. We're losing money every time I go out in a truck. I'm out there. I'm not doing my job. I'm not leading the company. I'm not creating the future, not planning out, sticking us to our plan, holding us accountable, looking for future opportunity. And so had to elevate out of there. Well, that means you had to go back to your org chart, look what positions you are. I'll go back to this because it's so powerful. When that first org chart had every position for $1 million company, guess whose names were in all those positions? It's either Jon or Vic. But as we grew, we say, okay, well, this year you have to elevate, so we got to replace your name in these roles, or her name in these roles. And so, and when I go back to intention, strategically intentional on how you do it, it helps you allocate the resources, helps you stay grounded so that you're not going crazy.
Right.
In a non-chaotic world of an organization that can show that to their people that are coming on board, hey, today you're coming in here, but I can tell you already I'm going to be here in 3 years. I need you to be ready for this. Now I have a culture of being able to show them, like, yeah, come in. I know you're coming in here, But that's not what I want you for. I want you here. Now how much more energized are your people to see where you're going? And then when you start to become successful because you're holding yourself accountable, strategic plan, and holding them accountable, everybody's growing. It's an exciting time. Now you got to, to me, that was how we kind of kept moving us up and not get stagnant.
Okay. So you had to make some.
That was pretty windy right there, wasn't it?
Well, you had to make some pretty quick adjustments, though, I would think.
Absolutely.
Because Jon and Vic are running the local business, and now you've shifted businesses is what you've done. So how do you keep growing the local business?
Right.
And not take the eye off the ball there while you're growing the regional business?
Strong people. We had really good people. And we had a model what the business looked like, and we knew what the people that we needed, and we had really good people that we held them accountable to what we were doing, which alleviated my time to go work with franchisees.
Okay.
Which I'm basically doing the same thing for the franchisees, is helping them scale their business the same way. And so it was probably, I look at, when you look at a week, a 40-hour week, how much do you spend in the day, the week, the month, the year, in the future? And I was really spending more of my time in the year and the future. And I kept relinquishing the day and the week and the month and let them run it. And held them accountable to that.
That's a very interesting concept, and I have to admit that that's one that I've never heard articulated quite that way, that you're thinking about the months and the year. You're not thinking about the days and the week.
No.
Interesting. So where did you come up with that concept? Or how did Jon realize that is how you articulate to your team, these are your responsibilities and this is where I'm focused at?
I'm going to go back. It was the people that I, you know how you say, well, you hang yourself with people a lot smarter than you are. All right?
Exactly.
And I was in a really smart group of people that when you watch them and try to understand, like, how do you do this? People that are already doing it. And that's probably where I got that idea. Okay. Because it permeates through all your business. You take the frontline team member, he works in the day and the week. And I want him in the day and the week. I need him to be in the day and the week. Right. My mid-manager needs to be in the week and the month. And leadership needs to be in the month and the year, and all, probably further. And so then as they move through their professional career, they can see how their time needs to be allocated. Because you can't have everybody in the day, everybody in the week, because it'll just stall out. So it came from, it wasn't something that I thought of. It's something that I learned somewhere along the line.
Well,
it's been 40 years. I can't remember.
Well, Jon, to your point, I've said this too many times that if I'm the smartest person in the room, I got to get out of that room.
I got to get out of the room.
I need to find a new room. So
Absolutely.
I'm totally on board with you there. And I've often said, from a coaching perspective, whether I was talking about football coaching or whether I was talking about business coaching, is there really aren't any brand new ideas. But it's how you take this piece or that play or that scheme or whatever it is, that system, and you put it together that makes it new, fresh, unique, different, and suddenly everybody thinks, oh, that's a great new system. Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but this is how we got here.
I think another thing that we did very, very well was, when you look with your team members that they look at their opportunity of growth professionally and personally. So it's like a railroad track. They got their professional track and their personal track. And it was always important, are we helping them achieve their personal side too? So our coaching moments were not as much about, well, how many jobs did you get done this week or how many sales? It's like, okay, how are we doing on your professional track and how's that working with your personal track? And it goes back to the why. Why do we do what we do? Well, we have a professional side and we have a personal side. And it's okay to pay attention to your personal side, and it's much easier for us to help guide them through that, where we're both winning at this point in time. Mm-hmm. So coaching moments for us evolved not about numbers. It was about behaviors. It was about being successful in the business, being successful at home. And so we kind of got to where we were doing those very often. And the more often we did them, the more impactful they were.
Interesting. So that kind of opens up a door for me that I want to pursue a little bit. You were talking about culture. You were talking about helping people recognize what their future could look like, and letting them see not where you are today, but where we want you to be in 3-5 years. So talk to me about how you got to that point first, but more importantly, then how did you consciously decide how you were going to invest in their development? And what did that look like when you were trying to grow them up in your business, so to speak?
Right. We did a number of things. When we went to more frequent meetings with them, and these weren't the traditional sandwich meetings of, well, you did this good, you did this bad, now, but you did do this good. You know, those were all got to, my opinion, where they were kind of conflicting. Like, am I in here to say what I'm doing good, or I'm in here because I'm in trouble, but then you say I'm good, so then they go, you know, we wanted them to be, we dealt with numbers and things in our team meetings. Mm-hmm. The one-on-one meetings were really about professional development.
Okay.
And personal development. So those were probably the bigger ones. We also started a class that dove into the macro of the business, on the frontline people that could come in after their shifts. It was all volunteer, but we would dive into our budget. We'd show them the numbers. We'd talk them about where we're headed, what we want to see happen. We'd get a lot more intimate with what their desires were within our business. And this was really to grow leaders, was what that whole program is we're going to start growing leaders. So we dealt with topics that leaders would have to deal with. So then as we were expanding and we went from 1 city to 2 cities, 3 cities, 5 cities, we had people that we were already developing to go. And so that was really a great program that my son ran, and it was exciting to go in there. You never knew who was going to show up. And the most amazing people that you wouldn't think were in there religiously. They wanted to know more. They wanted to grow. Mm-hmm. And there's diamonds in the roughs out there that, until we put them in a place to look at them and really help them understand, you start finding really good people.
So I know that earlier, before we were doing our recording, you were talking about how you're fading away, I think, or phasing out.
I'm fading.
Fading out.
Fading out.
Really isn't fading out, but is less day to day than you even were, a few years ago. How have you seen the next generation that is coming up, and in your son running the business and all? How have you seen them take what you planted and grow on it, or even change it a little bit?
So Vic and I have been very blessed. We have twin boys, and they take after her. She's very smart, and they're very smart. They take after her. They have come into the business, and we have been transitioning the business to them. In the mix to that, we went through a merger with another. Actually, the guy that introduced me to Weedman, he had Weedman up in North, and we put our two groups together, merged, made one big group. It's called Epic 3, and it's all on the premise of sometimes 1 + 1 can equal 3. And so now he has a son, and they had a strong team, but we were both growing, so we needed to develop strong leaders. And so our boys came in, his son and another guy, and they came in, and they're leading the company. And then we are more from an advising standpoint nowadays. We're board of directors, and obviously we have to make decisions, but it's more on there's so much more energy in staying with the current times and relating with the tools that they have at hand, the digital formats and all that they have at hand. They're just so much more in tune to that, that it makes sense for us to kind of back out and let them lead, let them go. But it doesn't mean we're not around. I think there's always a place for wisdom. There's always a place for wisdom.
Yeah. Wisdom is one of those things that's not easily attained, and you want to always keep access to it when you have that.
So the conversations really wrap around more about, here's my experience in that situation. They don't say, always look the same. It's very similar. Here's my experience. Here's what you should look at. Here's what you want to be attentive to, and and you're going to be fine. Yeah. I'm going to tell you, you got to make your own decision here, but this is what I see in my past. And wisdom comes from, let's face it, wisdom comes from failures and mistakes and losses. Wisdom is because those hurt.
Yeah. You
don't remember the wins, but boy, you'll remember the mistakes.
So I love that you said that, because, oftentimes, you hear the mantra, failure is not an option, when in reality, failure is unavoidable.
It's unavoidable.
And
I say if you aren't failing, you aren't trying.
There you go. You're not trying anything new. So talk to us about, as you think back over the growth of it, what was your biggest failure and the lesson that you took from that? Not because it destroyed the company or anything like that, obviously, but what was it that you took away from it that you can share, or that you have shared with the folks coming up now?
I think, there's always little things, but I think one of the bigger things I look back at, and I wish I would have pushed harder. We were very conservative in our growth, and we had a plan that's very conservative. And I think I think we had the opportunity to push a little harder.
Oh, well, we have some side effects going.
It'll go away. It's a shocker. That phone never rings anymore. It's probably spam.
Yeah.
But I think I would have pushed a little harder. I think we could have been down the road a little bit faster. But we were still learning. So I don't, it didn't keep me up at night.
Right.
It's just things like that. Right. I think there's some people, I think at the end of the day, there's things that I wish I would have been better at at the end of the day. And not that I was a bad people manager, just I think in learning now, I think as a leader, you want to be out front, modeling behavior. You want people following you and seeing it, but you also want to be behind them, pushing them, encouraging them, right? You got to be pushing them. That's that, not letting them get away with things, but you want to be shoulder to shoulder with them too, is walking with you in the battle of the day. Like, I'm right here with you. Tell me what you need. Let me help. Let me show you. And then you got to be on top of them, kind of watching to make sure that their lives are progressing the way they want to, and that they're getting out of it what you want them to get out of it. So I think I could have been better than that earlier than what I was.
So the just being more willing to risk more and less conservative, and then a better people person.
A better manager of people.
Okay.
I think I could have been better at that.
Okay.
Wasn't bad. It just could have been better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get woke up at night thinking about the things that we didn't do, that we remember that we should have done, whether that was that day or a few years ago. We remember those battles that didn't go the way we wanted them to.
Yeah. And there's people that have, when you've been in business for 40 years, there's people that have come through your doors that you're like, oh, well, I probably could have done something better there or handled something better there. Yeah.
So I'm going to warn you, I'm going to ask this question in kind of two different ways. All right. So The first way I'm going to ask it is, as you talk with a new franchisee who's coming into the business, what do you think the most important piece of advice is that you make sure you offer to all of them, but maybe they don't always listen to?
That's a interesting question when you're asking about franchising,
Mm-hmm.
because franchising really is saying, here, let me pull this box off the shelf, open them, now just do. These are all proven systems.
Right.
Just do that, and that's really what I tell them to do. In the first few years, you just follow the system. Mm-hmm. It's 1970, however old that is. It's been evolved over time. If you follow the system, it will work out. Whether it works out in your time manner is up to you. It's always a question you get when you're talking to potential franchisees, somebody that's looking at your franchise system, and they always want to know, how much am I going to make? It's like the number one question.
Right.
And we have some great documentation that shows what the top 25% do, what the average do, and what the bottom 25 do. And I always say, which one are you? We have people hitting top 25. We have people average. We have people not hitting it. Mm-hmm. All the same system. Now tell me which one's you. And I can tell you, the guys in our top 25, if you go talk to them, they're working that system every day.
So work the system.
Work the system. I think that's probably the biggest thing. And, I think also and we have a strong business plan that helps, that it's a zero-based system. Know your numbers. Know your numbers.
That's always critical, to know the numbers.
Yeah.
To know the numbers.
Numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pure math. They don't lie. And our numbers are based off 50 years, so let's know our benchmarks. Mm-hmm. Let's make sure we're hitting them. And know your P&L, know your balance sheet. I know it's not the most fun thing to do, but it paints a picture of the health of your business. Mm-hmm. And it will direct resources. Yeah.
Okay.
They do those things, and stick with it. Persistence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Persistence.
Persistence sometimes is the most difficult part, because they're trying to get over that hump, or they're trying to hit that level, and it doesn't always come as quickly as they projected it was going to come on paper.
Yeah, and that's the difference. That's the difference between a fad and a solid business. A fad is something that's quick and goes away. We were never a get-rich-quick scheme, mm-hmm. and we promoted it that way. And it always reminds me of the cartoon character, the two guys that are mining, and they got their pitchforks and they're going at it and they're hitting rock. And one guy quits one hit away from hitting gold. Stick with it. Mm-hmm. If you manage your numbers, manage your dollars, stick with this. Take care of the pennies. The dollars will take care of themselves. There will be a day that we hit it. Mm-hmm. And we know that time period about when it is. So, yeah.
Okay. So the similar question asked the different way is, so if John today could go back and talk to young John back in 1987, what would be the nugget of gold, since we're talking about miners here, what would be the nugget of gold that John today would tell young John?
Oh, man, that's a hard question.
Good.
That is a really, really, be humble, man. Have integrity. Be humble. You can have all the money in the world, buy all kinds of things. It's not going to buy integrity. And then the other thing that we did adopt is do the right thing. It's the right thing to do. It's really kind of easy. Mm-hmm. just do the right thing. It's the right thing to do. You'll sleep well at night. You won't have to remember the stories.
Okay. Now, do you think that was something that younger John had a difficulty with?
No. And I think part of it, I had a very serving mentality. Serving customers, serving our team members to make them successful was more about leadership. Was more to me. It was about serving them, serving my customers, and serving my suppliers. We always treated our suppliers as if they were customers, and I think that was just the way we wanted to be seen.
Right.
That was our brand. That we were a good company. We treat people right. We bent over backwards on all fronts, customers, employees, and suppliers. And that's just who we were, and that's what we wanted to be. Did we miss out on some dollars here and there? Probably so.
You maybe missed out on some of the short dollars, but it paid off in the long run.
By not compromising on some of those things, you might miss out on some things, but at the end of the day, I can sleep at night.
That's important.
Yes, it is.
One of the things that you hear so many times, people, I'm going to fake this till I make this, and they're going to fake it till they make it, but that then willingness to say, I need help. There's the other piece that both humbling, but at the same time, wisdom to say, I need the help.
Yeah, and it's not my strength. Like, this is truly not my strength. My wife is very smart. She's very analytical. She accounting, programmer. I mean, who goes to school to be a programmer and accountant? That's her lane.
Yeah.
Like, I run with it. It's not my strength.
Yeah.
And I think the faster you learn where your strengths and weaknesses are, if you foster your strengths, doesn't mean you don't pay attention to your weaknesses. Doesn't mean you just get a free pass and not try to figure it out. That's not right either. But foster your strength and get in that lane and really excel at it and work on the others. Once I realized that, I felt a lot more comfortable in what I was doing, and I was a lot more comfortable saying that's not my strength. I had a colleague of mine I respect all get out, and he was very good at that. He was very good at realizing what he was good at and finding the people to compensate what he wasn't. And was very comfortable admitting it. And I respected him so much. So that admission is not a knock. It's a realization.
Okay.
You, through this conversation, you said that you placed a big emphasis on being a mentor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Who was your mentor?
Who is my mentor? Well, in different aspects. Obviously, we've talked about George. We talked about Bud. They really gave me a lot of discipline and endurance and perseverance and things like that. I worked for another guy that really, on the business side, taught me a lot about business. I actually sold cars for 2.5 years in an interim of from our previous employer to starting my own. Even after we started the business, I made more money in the winter selling cars than I did the first year of business, so that gives you an idea. But he was really good and coached me personally and professionally that I really have always respected. So he was a really good mentor. And I can't go without talking to my dad. He was a steel worker, worked in the steel industry, started sweeping floors at 16, ended up being superintendent at melt shop. And I always, when you were around him and around his people just loved him and respected him and was all get out. And learned a lot. I had really good mentors in a lot of ways there. Now, if you want to go, I can go down the line on this question. Roger, he's a strong mentor. Terry's a strong mentor. These are guys I work with now that I respect the hell out of still.
Yeah.
Jen, they're just so good. Yeah. I've been very blessed. I had really good people around.
All right, so these next few are really more local things.
Yeah.
So about Weed Man locally and that kind
Yeah.
of thing. So just first off, the name of your business and what you do. What does the business do?
So the name of the business is Weed Man, and we do fertilization and weed control. Now we do bugs. I usually put it, whatever comes out of a hose or spreader, we're probably much into. Yeah. Bed maintenance, aeration, seeding, green spaces. That's kind of what we're about. Yeah.
What do people need to know about lawn care and care of their spaces?
Yeah. Well, here's what I would say. If you look at your property, kind of like a band, you got the lead guitar, and you got, you got the drummer and the singer. But, if you take out the bass drum or the bass player, kind of the backdrop, it doesn't sound right, right? And lawn care is this thing that's it's present, but it's what makes everything else looks really good. And it's really a very nice sort of way of just finishing off your property, finishing that off. We don't do anything sexy. We provide a convenience. We take something off your slate. Let us just take this thing off your slate. You don't have to worry about it. You're going to come home, you're going to see a little sign in the yard, you're going to know your yard looks right, and that thing's done. And you don't have to worry about, this weekend I got to go to buy fertilizer, I got to get a spreader, I don't even know how to calibrate it. I still have this and problem, and that didn't work. Now you're buying. Let's just take this off your busy slate. And that's what we did. And pretty dang good at it. So really good at it. And you're gonna spend about the same amount of money. So.
All right, great job. I can see a couple more episodes coming out.
Well, I hope it's what you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.